Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome to another video. Now before we kick things off, I do really want to say thank you to everyone that's been supporting my videos recently. It's been super great to see that you're enjoying this small little series I've cooked up together, and it has been super fun for me to talk about these lesser known characters and go into a little bit more detail on just who they are as people. Plus, you know, like fuck am I done draining blood from this stone? Anyway, jokes aside, today we're going to be diving deep into the Mortal Kombat catalog and talking about a very obscure character within the series, the lost and forgotten saurian, Khameleon. Yeah, the one with a K. Now, in typical MK fashion, there are two characters with the same name, and the only difference is that one of them has a K. Totally not on the nose at all. Now, I will be briefly talking about the male Khameleon counterpart and the differences between the two, but for the most part, this video will be focusing on the female Khameleon, as there are in fact a lot of interesting things surrounding her appearance. So when I'm talking about the two, I will be talking about their similarities, how they were accessible, and what they did for the series. But before we do, let's talk about how she came to be, and what makes her so unique in the world of MK. What has she done? Well, first off, let's talk about her origins. Where does Khameleon come from? Well, Khameleon derives from the ancient and primitive realm of Zarterra, a rich and thriving society of raptor hybrids that worshipped their matriarch queen. So Khameleon is very similar to the likes of her much more well-known mainstream counterpart, Reptile. With that said, both of these characters suffer a terrible fate, as the home of Zarterra would be conquered by Outworld's at the time ruler, Shao Kahn. Upon Zarterra being merged with Outworld, Khameleon and Reptile were enrolled into a slave army, and against their will, forced to make other worlds suffer their same tragic fate. Now, one of the biggest contrasting differences between Reptile and Khameleon is the fact that Reptile started to suffer from what only could be described as Stockholm Syndrome with Shao Kahn. Due to how some saurians worship their matriarch leader, Reptile started to idolize and admire Shao Kahn's incredible power and what he was capable of doing. So this in turn somewhat drowned out his desire to free his home realm, in turn submitting to the Emperor's strength. Khameleon, on the other hand, went in the complete opposite direction, making it her life mission to free her home of Zarterra from the Conqueror's clutches. Now, tragically, this is a mission that she would ultimately fail in, due to the outcome of Mortal Kombat Armageddon, where everyone does perish. Since then, she's yet to make a proper official appearance in the rebooted continuity, only being referenced to here and there in some verbal exchanges. I'll be talking about that a little bit later. But from what you can tell here, things have been relatively quiet with Khameleon. So with that said, why was Khameleon rarely, if ever, seen? Because the chances are is that you've probably heard more about this character than you've actually seen her in game, and with good reason. Khameleon, no not that one, debuted in one of the multiple different ports and iterations of Mortal Kombat 3, more specifically the N64 port of Mortal Kombat Trilogy. So not only was she exclusive to an extremely specific version of MK3, but she was also a secret character, so she wasn't obtainable by normal means. To unlock Khameleon, you needed to input a special secret code on the story screen if you wish to make her playable. This kind of once again added to her mystery as a character. And do remember, unlike now where the internet is at your fingertips, back then information like this was scarce and hard to obtain. It traveled more by word of mouth, like the infamous Ermac and Scarlet rumor. Now, as characters went, Khameleon had a very interesting moveset, with it effectively being a collage and amalgamation of all the female ninja moves condensed into one character. In all fairness, she had a fairly bloated moveset, but because of this, she had a crazy amount of utility. It brought her a lot of fan recognition, so her return was imminent in a sequel. Kind of. It's really messy. So Khameleon's next and final appearance was in Armageddon, but it wasn't by normal means. You see, beforehand at early press releases and trailers, a huge selling point of Armageddon was its titanic roster, featuring almost every single character from MK ever, except cult fan favorite Khameleon, of which her male counterpart was in-game. Now, because she wasn't featured in this, there was an outcry from fans, and the devs most certainly heard this. But this, again, is where things get really convoluted. On multiple different occasions, there were cases where the devs outright said that the character would be confirmed for release, and then some saying that she was scrapped. This went on for a very long amount of time, until the game finally released, with no Khameleon in tow. Yes, you heard that right. What some of you are probably saying, what are you talking about? Khameleon is playable on Armageddon's roster. And you are kind of half right. She is playable, but only on the Nintendo Wii port of Armageddon, which was announced months later after the game's official release. So it actually makes Khameleon the first ever console exclusive character. Take that, Kratos. Now Khameleon, much like her previous iteration, did have an amalgamation of the other females' movesets, which again makes her very unique in that respect. Now sadly, after Armageddon, she hasn't really appeared in any real capacity. Yeah, I suppose the grayed out ninja in 9 could be her, but it's never really specified, and at most, she is a support card in Mortal Kombat Mobile and is a consumable in the Towers of Time. Along with this, she is homaged in a Combat League Jade skin, which entire focus and theme was centered around the saurian characters. So Khameleon's appearance have really been few, far between, and extremely selective, which is why I can 100% see why she is a cult fan favorite. She's 100% eluded the limelight. With that said, how exactly does she relate to her male counterpart? Well, from a lore standpoint, not by too much. You see, whilst they practically retain the same visual design, Khameleon is an extremely underdeveloped character in the MK series, and because of that, we don't actually know too much about him. There are clues, ideas, and concepts there that somewhat allude to him being a saurian, but it's sadly never elaborated on. We are never given a clear, definitive answer. At most, it's just fan theories and assumptions, and I can see why. They share a lot of similarities between each other, so to undermine the idea would be rather foolish, but I do want to point out that it's never been clarified. Now quickly going back on the resemblances between the two have somewhat shared the same idea when it's come to movesets. You see, Khameleon was Chameleon before Chameleon, and Chameleon, this is getting really confusing. So male Khameleon actually existed before his female counterpart, and did exist in an early version of Ultimate MK3. Now whilst in the game, this iteration of Khameleon was in fact not finished. He didn't quite have the moveset he did in Trilogy, so whilst he was a part of that game, he didn't make his official debut until the next installment. Now as expected, much like his female counterpart, he did have a mishmash of all the male ninja characters' moves, an idea and concept he would later carry over into Armageddon. So, as far as you can tell, the two Khameleons are very similar to each other. In this case, it kind of begs the question, why was this video focused around the female Khameleon? Well, narratively, she actually has a lot going on for her. You see, her narrative, lore, and creation is very clear cut, whereas on the other side of the coin, the male Khameleon has more stuff implied about him. We don't know too much around him. I think the right way to put it is that he's more of a concept and idea than a real character with ambition, which is a shame, because honestly, I find both of these characters really cool. Aesthetically, they're awesome, but tragically, he just falls into the realm of underdeveloped characters from an otherwise very ambitious game series. Now, in saying that, there was no way I could make this video without mentioning him, as he is the precursor and catalyst for her creation. So there's no denying the similarities, and how the two kind of really do go hand in hand with each other, without sharing any real relation to each other, at least stuff that's definitive. With that said, this has been it for Who the Hell is Khameleon. I hope you've enjoyed this one, as honestly, these videos are so much fun to make. After years of talking about MK. It's kind of refreshing that I'm able to make these sort of videos and learn a lot about older installments. They are a lot of fun, and I really hope you are enjoying the ride too. I'm definitely going to be making more of these over the next few weeks, so if you are interested in more, please do stick around. The next episode is not currently planned, so if you have any ideas for lesser known characters, please plug them down in the description below, and if you're lucky, I just might make a video on it. But until then, that has been it for me. Before this video wraps up, if possible, let's try getting it to about 500 likes, and please do not forget to subscribe and tick that bell, as it will keep you up to date with all of my content. But until then, as always, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I will see you all next time.